time. We're gonna take it home. Let's go. Do it. Do it. Make it happen. Where there's a Mets man, you'll find a Mets fan. Let's go. This is a Mets year for all your Mets here. Let's go. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home Make it happen. There's no stopping us now. We're gonna do it again. It's not a question of how. It's just a matter. It's just a matter. It's just a matter of
Hello again, everybody. Joe Piscopo, Shea Stadium. The big story. Mets 86. Exciting, thrilling, awesome. Let's take a look. do it. Do
What's up, Met fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets. Rob, how is everybody doing on this Wednesday, March 15th, 15 days away from opening day in Miami for the 2023 season? I am back, finally back, setting up the new space, trying to figure out a better way to bring live streams to you guys and, of course, videos to come. Hopefully everybody is doing okay and everybody is having a good time watching the Mets and another outing for Justin Verlander that is just what you expected from a guy who won the Cy Young last year. Hopefully everybody can hear me very well. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me well. I'm working on with the new mic, all this fun stuff, the lighting, all that crazy stuff. Still working on the background. Got one thing up at the moment, working on it slowly but surely. 5 innings today from 5 innings pitched by Justin Verlander today just looked very damn good. And that is something that is music to our ears because of the fact of the situation last year when our ace in the hole in Jacob deGrom never really got started in the beginning of the year. And I said this over and over again, is that I can guarantee you Justin Verlander, if he has at least 27 starts throughout the season, which is probably less than he probably will have, but 27 starts will almost guarantee that the Mets rotation is going to be better than last year. And that is just hard to believe considering how good the rotation was without Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom for 13 weeks out of the 2022 season. And yet the rotation was one of the better rotations in baseball. Yes, there is a lot of question marks with this rotation, but I do think that people need to expect more from Justin Verlander because of the fact this guy is a bulldog. We talked about Scherzer being a bulldog. I completely understand that. But when it comes to Justin Verlander, this guy pitches. Yes, Tommy John surgery he had a few years ago, but you see when he is healthy, and he did say that his arm last year he talked about his arm feeling like it felt 10 years ago because of the new ligament and the UCL in his arm. Everything else is healthy when it comes to Justin Verlander, and he even talked about it that if he is healthy, he will pitch every fifth day. And that is something the Mets really did not have at the top of the rotation for the majority of the year last year, especially when Scherzer went down. And people have to start to realize that if the top of the rotation stays predominantly healthy for most of the year, guess what, guys? This team should have no problem winning ball games because I think this offense is going to be better than last year because of the fact of what we've talked about over and over again about the lack of home runs that they were expecting last year from certain players that weren't even close to what they were expecting and they were supposed to get from certain positions, DH, catcher, third base. As I keep on saying over and over again like a broken record, 30 to 40 home runs were missing from this lineup that the Mets were easily expecting from certain spots in a lineup, and I think they're going to easily get that this year, and that is looking at the back of the baseball cards and certain players that, you know, the guys like Alonso's, the guys like Lindor's, where you expect between 39 to 44 home runs for Pete Alonso. You know, Lindor anywhere from 20 to 25. You expect that from those guys, but other guys in the lineup, could we get close to 20 from Daniel Vogelbach? Could we get 25 from Escobar? Remember, he only hit 20 last year, and that was a bad year for him where the Mets were expecting him to be a protection in that lineup for Pete Alonso, and I can easily see Escobar hit 25 home runs. Is Brett Baty or Ronnie Mauricio going to be a part of this team? That can only add some power to this lineup. There are so many ways to look at it, but I do think the Mets are set up very well because this rotation, even if when they limit innings a little bit in the beginning of the year, which I do expect for the top end of this rotation, I think this rotation, if they pitch every fifth day, which I do think that the Mets are going to be very careful with this rotation very early on in the season. You keep this rotation healthy, there is no doubt that I think the Mets are going to be somewhere where they were last year record-wise or just around that, and I think that is enough to be at least fighting for the division, where I think it's going to be a very tough division with the Phillies and the Braves, but I do think the New York Mets, health-wise with the rotation, is going to be a lot healthier than last year. Quintana is an unfortunate issue, but that's something that you can't just, predict, considering the fact that this guy had a lesion on his rib. It wasn't like it was a fractured rib or something crazy with his rib. It was actually a health scare that could have been life or death. So that's something that you just can't predict. And that's unfortunate. Hopefully Jose Quintana gets back healthy and takes care of his own life, including his family as well. So that's something that you have to look at with Jose Quintana. But as the poll has been up for about a half hour or so, which pitcher should replace Jose Quintana in the Mets rotation for opening day? Tyler McGill, David Peterson. Now, before I went live, Peterson was winning by a little bit. If you guys, I cannot see the poll at the moment. Let me know who is winning. Is it McGill or Peterson? I still believe that Peterson should get the job. Number one, he's been going through the trenches with this Mets organization for the last couple of years since 2020, and I think it's his time to shine. And for once, last year, even though the rotation was very good last year, even with the injuries, it was lacking a left-handed pitcher. David Peterson fits that spot. That was the whole reason why the Mets got the veteran in Jose Quintana to get that lefty to split up this rotation a little bit and show a little bit of different arms during a series. And that is something that the Mets lacked last year and what they were trying to do this year with Quintana. But luckily for us, with our depth, Peterson could step right in there. And guess what? Peterson and McGill, both of them have pitched outstanding. Both deserve the job. There's still about 2 weeks to go in spring training, so somebody could take the lead in that spot in the rotation of Phil Quintana's spot. But as of right now, I think Peterson, if everything goes as planned, Peterson should be in this rotation starting opening day. And if you didn't hear, with Buck Showalter, opening day in Miami, March 30th at 4:10 p.m., Buck Showalter said Max Scherzer will be on the mound on opening day in Miami. And if all sets up as well, without any rainouts or anything like that, for the first two road series, even though Miami won't get rained out, obviously, or even actually Milwaukee. So we should be good there. But if any cancellations happen with a game, which shouldn't happen, Justin Verlander will get the home opener at Citi Field if it works out that way. At the moment, Max Scherzer is going to be the opening day starter on March 30th in Miami. So for the people who are going, including myself, 2,007 line Army members going to the game. And, of course, thousands of other Mets fans that are transplants in Florida or just traveling to Florida to see the Mets opening series in Miami. I just received the 7-line shirts that I will show you in a few minutes. I got them right over there. I see it. And that is something that it's a little bit of different vibe. Usually it's an orange or a blue shirt with the same, but this year they're going with the Miami Vice colors, which is the light baby blue with the pink lettering. It's a little different, but I'm going to tell you right now, in person, it looks absolutely amazing. I will show it to you almost at the end of this stream, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to go. I'll be heading down there Wednesday, the day before opening day, to get, a little acclimated, meet some people, hang out with some people. It will be a lot of fun. So as I'm watching Baseball Night in New York, I want to say what up to everybody in the stream right now and in the chat. And thank you guys for hanging in there with me. As you know, it's been a process over the last week or two. And it's finally coming together little by little. And I'm glad you guys can come back for more and hang in there with me, even though it's dead smack in the middle of spring training. I want to let you guys know I am back, and you'll be seeing a lot of live streams from this point on. Tomorrow, I will be doing a live stream during the Mets spring training game. So I did one about a week and a half ago. I will be doing one tomorrow. Be consistent with the live streams. And I'm going to do a couple of videos as well of the MLB, the predictions for the divisions for the 2023 season that I'm going to do about in a week or so. I'm also going to do other videos as well related to the Mets, and of course the live streams for spring training games, and of course Mets Talk Lives over the next week or so while we get prepared for opening day in Miami. So with that said, let's say what up to everybody in the chat, and don't forget to please hit on that like button. And if you're a new subscriber to the channel, welcome to Talking Mets with Rob with the 2023 season. Let's go Mets, baby. And here we go. Say what up to everybody. Stoney, a member of Talking Mets with Rob. We got President Sean, a member of Talking Mets with Rob. Jimmy, Ken, Meech. Who else we got here? We have Joe. What's up, buddy? Yes, Aaron Rodgers. I know you're very excited about that. Let's see. Who else we got? I don't see a lot of people in the chat right now, but everybody might be working, might be chilling, might be hanging out, driving, whatever you're doing. You can always say what up on this channel. Let's see what else is going on. Hopefully you like my little channel logo behind me, and I'm gonna put up a couple of more things, a couple of bobbleheads and stuff like that, and maybe another something. I'm gonna put this little thing that I kind of painted that was kind of given to me. It was like a wood piece that is pretty cool. It looks like that. So something I'm gonna put on the wall as well. That was sent to me, I believe, from a subscriber. Nobody put a note in there, so I'm assuming that it is a subscriber of the channel because there was no return address or anything like that. So with that said, let's talk a little bit more about Mets baseball and exactly what we should be still looking at when it comes to spring training. There's a couple of bullpen spots open that we can see who can fill those spots. And once again, Peterson or McGill, please vote in that poll so I can have an idea of what you chose. And it seems like people are choosing Peterson at the moment. Again, I can't see the poll at the moment. So just let me know, guys. Peterson is at 70%. And that is not shocking because I think a lot of people would rather have a lefty in the rotation, even though the rotation was good last year with basically all righties until injuries happened and Peterson happened to pitch throughout the year. But I do think that having that lefty in the rotation is big. And I do think right now Peterson is in the lead, but anything can happen within the next 2 weeks of spring training. Roberto, a member of Talking Mets with Rob. How you doing, buddy? Well, I don't know how much it was. It was a gift, so I appreciate it. It was probably the coolest gift I ever got. That's not even exaggerating. It's pretty cool, and it was unexpected. I do appreciate it. It was just awesome, and it's perfect. It's like exact detail. There is plastic protecting it, so you get the glare from the TV as well. So hey, I don't know if you can see baseball. If you look really closely, you could probably see Baseball Night in New York in it. If you really look closely, but don't worry, the setup background is going to be over the next couple of days. It's going to be gradually looking different, so you guys get a better idea of the new background and what it's going to look for 2023 season. I'm still working on the custom emojis for members. I already made a couple of wallpapers, phone wallpapers, laptop background wallpapers that members will be getting. I'm also going to be giving away this Mets Magazine Old Timers Day edition from that was last year that I have. I have about a lot of them, about 3 or 4 of them. So I'm going to give those out to the members. Pick them randomly and send them to you. I also got a bobblehead that I'm going to give. I got a couple other things that I'm going to be giving away. That once I figure out what else am I giving away, it's going to happen very shortly. And as you guys know, with the giveaways, members automatically get entered to win a giveaway. And with subscribers of the channel that want to enter to win that giveaway, there's a $5 entry fee, and you can enter as many times as you want. Every $5 is an entry. Last year, somebody, I believe, put 10 entries in. So obviously that's $50, and that person won the free giveaway. It was a mystery box with a whole bunch of Mets stuff. It was a Met keychain. It was a Met magazine. It was a whole bunch of Met stuff that was pretty cool. Mets souvenir cups and all that fun stuff. I think it was about 8 or 9 things in there. It was worth about $100 or so that I threw in the mystery box, and I sent it to that person. So you do have a chance of winning. Last time, I think there was about 50 people that minus the members that entered to win. So that is something that is going to happen during opening day. That during that week I'm going to do a giveaway there, and then I'm going to do one every month of the season. And of course, randomly just say, hey, I'm doing a giveaway. Let's start it in this live stream or during this game. So I'm just going to read a couple of the comments. Roberto, it's getting there. It's really getting there. It's a little as you guys, it's a little hectic, and again, it's still a process. Again, I got internet, TV, cable. That's the main focus right now, and a couple of other things that is taking time, but it's going to get better by the day. Hopefully, it's not. I didn't even take because I couldn't take vacation this month to do everything I needed to do, because I'm taking a vacation at the end of the month, as you know, opening day. So it's hard to do it while you're working, but you know what? You just do what you got to do, and that's why I haven't been doing a lot of live streams. But I'm here now consistently, and it's going to be a lot more fun. Rangers with the Stanley Cup. Yeah, Meech, that's a good one right there. Yeah, I know the Mets were talking about a 6-man rotation. I don't think they're going to do a consistent 6-man rotation. But every now and then, when there's like maybe a 4-game series, or there's 6 or 7 or 8 games in a row, they might throw an extra guy out there, throw out Tyler McGill or whoever's the extra pitcher, either Peterson or McGill, in a spot. If it was a Verlander or Scherzer or Senga spot, to save them innings for later in the year, you give them a spot stop here and there. I don't think they're going to go on a consistent 6-man rotation. And the reason why I say that is because, you got guys like Scherzer and Verlander, who is so used to and a creature of habit pitching every 5th day. It would probably help Senga the most, but I don't think it's necessarily going to help Verlander and help Scherzer. Now, if you want to skip a Verlander or Scherzer start and pitch a McGill or, do a bullpen game or whatever you want to do to skip one of their starts to save them innings for later in the year, I think the Mets will do that. Also, I do think, I think in the first month in April, you're going to see a lot of, 5 innings, 85 pitches for Verlander and Scherzer and even Senga, just to don't make them throw a lot of pitches. You're going to see the bullpen a lot in April. And I know there's going to be some people like, oh, why the heck are you going to take Verlander out like a day like today when he's perfect through 5 innings? But if he throws 85 pitches, you know what? Take him out, especially if you got a lead. Take him out, let your bullpen do it. You put money into this bullpen, use them early on. And when it comes to June, July, and August, then you can stretch them out to the 7th or 8th inning if need be and protect your bullpen later in the year as well. I think there's a lot of different ways the Mets can go about it. I think you saw last year with Scherzer, as soon as DeGrom went down in spring, I think Scherzer felt like he had to do everything, every pitch, every moment, every at-bat. And I think it cost him when that oblique happened, and even later in the year, where it felt like he rushed himself to come back because he knew the Braves were right on our tails, and he knew that he needed to be there. And I respect the grit. I respect the passion. I respect him wanting to be there for his teams, for his teammates. But at the end of the day, it did hurt us later in the year. And I think that's why it's important that if you noticed, last year in spring training, Scherzer's first start in spring, he went 4 innings. They didn't do that this time. There's a reason for that. Scherzer learned that he shouldn't be doing that. He should gradually slow 1 inning there, 3 innings here, 40 pitches, 50 pitches, 70 pitches. Gradually build up arm strength. And something that he felt like he went probably too hard last year early on, and I think it cost him later in the year. And it eventually cost the Mets, even though it wasn't really the rotations for it was mostly the offense in September. That was a huge deal. But we do know that you learn from your mistakes, and I do feel like Scherzer learned from his mistake. And even if he's a little hard-headed and crazy sometimes, I think Buck Showalter got to him and a couple of other guys got to him and said, hey, you got to calm down a little bit. And I think having Verlander here, I even think is much better than having Jacob deGrom here, even though Jacob deGrom healthy is probably the best pitcher in baseball. But I think because Verlander is more of a guy, you've seen him today. He's just confident on the mound. He's still got great stuff at the age of 40. And I do think, this guy's arm is healthy. And he's been a workhorse. He pitches. That's one thing he does. Verlander will pitch. And I think it takes a little bit of pressure and a little bit of impact on Scherzer, a little less than there was last year. And I think that's only going to help the Mets going forward. Let's see what else we got when it comes to the comments. Thank you, Meech, for that comment. Yamid, how you doing, buddy? He chooses Peterson because McGill needs to stay healthy to be trusted. Yeah, but you know what? Peterson wasn't necessarily healthy for the most part either. He was healthy last year, but he was a big part of helping his rotation when there was injuries. But I do think, and even McGill talked about it, that he was throwing way too hard last year, and he really didn't have to. And he was talking to Scherzer a little bit more, talking to Verlander right now about, you can use your secondary pitches. You can spot your fastball. You don't have to throw 98, 99 to be successful. You can throw 95, 96. As long as you spot and locate your breaking balls, I do think, and locate your fastball, I think it's going to help McGill because he does have the stuff. His secondary pitches do have to get better. They're still at probably like a 70% level. He has to get at least to an 85%, so I think consistently throw his secondary stuff with better location. I think that's where McGill is at the moment, and that's why I think Peterson is the guy, because I think Peterson is ready to go. I think his location, he's worked on his especially in spring training. You notice he's trying to limit his walks. That was a big problem in his career so far. You see he's throwing strikes now. He's putting back the ball. He's not looking to strike out every batter, and that's key for Peterson, who is a ground ball type of pitcher. So that's why I love Peterson in this rotation. And yes, it's going to be a little bit of a loss losing Quintana because he was the guy that was going to be the workhorse and provide a lot of innings for this rotation. But Peterson, I don't think really has a innings limit, and that's somebody that is a strong kid. I think he can not really pick up the slack of Jose Quintana of the bulk of innings that Quintana would have thrown, but I think he'll throw enough to help out this rotation as well. So they're showing right now on SNY Baseball Night in New York that who stood out during the time in Port St. Lucie. Curtis, the relief pitcher Curtis, who was hurt last year and who pitched really well for the Marlins a couple of years ago. He's the guy that I think is going to make this bullpen as well, which I think is going to be a very good addition as well. Let's see what else we got. Stezo, how you doing? Oh, Stezo, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you see some nice pitching out in. Yeah, Verlander looks good, guys. No doubt about it. Yeah, I was watching it. The rain did come. That's for sure. That must be that Florida. Like, see rain, get the hell out. But yeah, Verlander, that was a gem. Hopefully you enjoyed it until it rained. All right, what else we got? Evil, how you doing? Yeah, Evil, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You don't want to help one pitcher and hurt two others. Not saying that it would hurt Verlander or Scherzer, but like you said, they're a creature of habit. The 6-man rotation would really help Senga, but it also might actually hurt Verlander or Scherzer, not like injury-wise, but make them be not as sharp. And I think you have to be careful with that because of the fact that you don't want to mess up your two top guns. And yeah, I think eventually Senga will get acclimated to every fifth day, and he's doing it somewhat now in spring training, and I think he's going to be fine since he had that finger issue. He did say he's going to be ready for opening day, which is a good sign. But yeah, a 6-man rotation. You know what? We're not the Rays, okay? I think a 6-man rotation is more about analytics than anything else. I don't think it benefits more pitches than it actually hurts. I think that was just an analytics move that was started by the Tampa Bay Rays, that didn't have enough money to actually put out a real rotation, so they go with 6-man rotation because they don't have enough people. The same reason why the Rays went with bullpen games, and then a lot of teams followed suit because the Rays don't have the luxury of, putting up a rotation that can probably be an actual major league rotation every fifth day, and that's what they did. They used analytics to save a little money in the rotation. And that's why the Rays did it. And people started following suit because they wanted to go to the cheaper route, and they realized it really does not work. Because if it really did work and enough numbers and enough proof of it show that a 6-man rotation benefits the rotation more than it hurts it, more teams would actually do it. And there's a reason why more teams, the good teams, really don't do it. All right, guys. So let's see what – oh, sorry, I already wrote that down. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see what else we got. Well, President, I do think the bullpen is going to be stronger. I mean, the additions that we got, bringing back Ottavino, bringing in Robertson, I think it's a huge deal. We know how good Diaz is. I don't think we can expect Diaz to be as great as last year, but if he gives us 90% of what he was last year, that's probably still better than almost everybody in the league. Excuse me. So that's something that I think this rotation is going to be better. It's more deeper. It is more reliable, at least on paper, because of the fact, if you look at it with the bullpen, and you could just see last year what was the problem with the Mets. Even though Diaz, every time he got the ball, he was just lights out. The problem was getting to Edwin Diaz. We had no bridge. Ottavino was good probably from June on, but April and May he was still finding his footing as a Met, and then gradually he got better, and he was the easy bridge to Diaz. And what helped us get to 100 wins was because we actually figured out a bridge to Edwin Diaz. That was the problem for last year. There were some games where we just couldn't get Edwin Diaz the ball with a lead. And look at September. I think he actually made 5, maybe 6 appearances that when the Mets had the lead. That's a joke. You can't have that, especially in September when you needed a little bit more wins and the Mets struggled. I think they were only, one game over 500 in the month of September. We didn't give Edwin Diaz the ball, who was so lights out last year that if you gave him a one-run lead, he'd probably save it. And that was a huge problem last year, and I think that's going to be different because you can go to a lot of guys in this bullpen for the bridge. Robinson, Ottavino, Smith. There's so many guys, Curtis, who I think is going to be a good addition to this team. I'm very interested. Rarely, I know he got a hamstring issue, or at least that's what they said, from the WBC. He should be ready to go for opening day, but he hasn't really been stretched out and pitched a lot either. But when he's ready to go, Raley's another one who's a very good pitcher. So the Mets have options for the bridge to Edwin Diaz. And of course, because it's so important this year with the bullpen, especially early in the season, that you're going to see Verlander, Scherzer, and Senga not go deep into games unless the pitch count is extremely low. Your bullpen's going to be used a lot, and you're going to count on them, especially early on in the season. All right, so let me just see, making sure that I didn't miss any comments. Well, President, I get what you're saying. With 95 wins with injuries, with some injuries, but just think of it last year: 13 weeks without Scherzer and DeGrom last year, 6 weeks without Marte, and that trickles in a couple of starts missed by Carrasco. Escobar was out with an injury for a little while, so we had main players that were injured basically for most of the year, if you really count the combined weeks, yet the Mets still had 101 wins. Now, I'm not saying, you can even say, we didn't have Justin Verlander last year. We had DeGrom, who missed the entire first half. You can pinpoint one or two, maybe even 3 games more that the Mets would have had easily won if DeGrom was starting in the first half season, if not a lot more. So that is something that sucks, but it just shows how good this team was last year and the depth they had. They might have not had bench depth, but they had enough arms to replace injuries, and it worked out. Trevor Williams was a godsend. David Peterson stepped up when he needed to pitch. And that's something that is crucial to a team this year as well, because look when Quintana went down. Everybody started to be like, oh, God, look at this. But then you look at it, we have Peterson and McGill that can easily step into a rotation spot. And we got Eliza Hernandez. We got other guys that I think that could get the nod if there's a couple of injuries. And let's be honest, guys, 101 win last year wasn't 101 wins with the majority of the team healthy for the majority of the year. It was basically for the majority of the year. You look at the injury list, and it was big players that were missing from the roster any point of the season. Look at any month. There was guys missing that were very important to this team. And, that could easily put more wins into the win column if these guys remain at least a little bit more healthy. You don't think another 3 weeks of Scherzer healthy or 3 weeks of DeGrom healthy would have gave us a couple of more wins? We might have not had to worry about that Brave series at the end of September for the division. It might have been locked up by then. That's a lot of what ifs, but you could say that about every team. But you can also say that about the Mets as well. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Eva, I said the same thing. I want Peterson. I think that he's been a guy who has been, in and out of the minors, who's getting spot starts here and there. I think Peterson paid his dues, and I think it's about time the Mets gave him a chance. Now, again, there's 2 weeks left in spring. If Peterson falls off a little bit and McGill looks light out, you have to give it to McGill. Whoever proves to be the better pitcher for the next 2 weeks, that's the pitcher that should get the spot. Even though you might want Peterson, if Peterson struggles in the next 2 weeks and McGill pitches well, even though you want Peterson, it's not fair to give it to Peterson when McGill pitched really good the rest of the spring. So as of right now, I think Peterson should get in. I think the poll is favorably in Peterson's corner here. I do think it makes sense for Peterson because Quintana was signed by the Mets to get that lefty in the lineup that the Mets lacked last year, unless Peterson pitched because of injuries. But it wasn't their main rotation was all right-handed pitchers, and I think that is not really the way to go. Even though they won 101 games with that, I love a lefty in the middle of a rotation that can change it up a little bit during the series. Well, Timothy, I don't think the Mets are going to sign Pete Alonso just yet. Well, yeah, Alan, you know what? People were talking about, let me just throw up that comment really quick so people know what we're talking about. When it comes to Atlanta and Philly, they both came out of the gate really, really poorly. And with the Braves, they can talk about Acuna being hurt. Well, yeah, that's fine. But they also had enough players that, their rotation besides Soroka was healthy. The majority of their lineup was healthy minus Acuna. Remember, the Mets didn't have Jacob deGrom, who was the ace of their staff, that they were missing. So, and then, in the Phillies, they were mostly healthy. They were just terrible. They ended up playing a lot better after the manager change, but that probably cost them a chance at a division as poorly as they played in the first half with the Phillies. The Braves are so bad, and, everybody gave excuses, but yet the Mets had more injuries than every other team in the NL East. And I'm talking about top guys. The Phillies, for part of the year, it was Harper, but at least Harper came back as the DA, so he was there in the lineup every single day. The Mets missed Marte, who was the most productive hitter, all-around hitter in September. That was crucial. And he also missed some of the West Coast trip early on in the season. And, when you missed DeGrom and Scherzer, who was at the top of your rotation, and you were throwing out Trevor Williams and minor league starters for a couple of weeks out of the season, that's going to cost you. Oh, yeah, that was fun. Well, Alan, you can't plan on that again, but that's true. I agree with you. But you know what? The Mets also could have been better in the first half. There was points in the season where the Mets should have won certain games that should have easily been won. Remember, the bullpen wasn't as good in the month of April than it was later in the year. You can look at every scenario and say what if for every team. But it's, the Mets got off to a great start, absolutely. And then they tailed off at the end. But, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden the Braves are going to start off very good. And I do think all the teams are going to start, all the NL East teams are going to start off very good. Because of the fact, if you look at the Mets schedule, the first 7 games, there's 4 against the Marlins, 3 against the Brewers, and then the Mets come back home to face the Marlins. So the Marlins will replace them 7 times in a week and a half. So, we don't face anybody else in the NL East, at least the contenders in the division, until the end of the month, and that's the Braves. So, it's going to, there's only 13 games this year, not 19. That's a huge difference as well. Well, Alan, I think that's learning from experience, to be honest with you. He's looked like that in the past, absolutely. But if you look at his press conference now, you look at the demeanor on the mound, he looks like a guy that is finally getting it. And that might not, that might not, turn into success on the mound, but he looks like a more confident guy who knows he belongs now. And that's not looking at the numbers he's putting up in spring, because I don't look at the numbers. I just look at the stuff he's throwing. And the secondary pitches that he had a problem getting over for strikes, he's getting over for strikes now. And his big problems were walks. And I do think he's realizing that because he's a guy who's a ground ball pitcher, let the guys put the bat on the ball. Don't try to strike everybody out. That was his problem. He was trying to be too perfect, trying to hit that exact spot on the outside corner, inside corner. And I think he was trying to laser focus on that one area instead of just getting the ball, throwing the ball. He was just a thrower of the baseball, not a pitcher. And I think you can see right now, don't look at the results, even though the results are looking good. The way he's locating secondary pitches was his problem, and he's doing very well with that because he's pitching in more contact. Too many pitchers try to pitch to strike out. That's not always a successful recipe. When you look at the best pitchers in baseball, yes, they're strikeout pitchers, but they don't look to strike out everybody. They don't listen. The more contact you have in the game, the less strikeouts you have, obviously the less your pitch count is going to be. So I do think if he lowers his walks, which has been a problem in his career, Peterson got the stuff to be an everyday fifth starter, and he's going to be number 4 in this rotation. So that is something to always look at. Rocky, it seems like you're right with Quintana. I agree, and I said this the entire year, right? The Braves' record against teams over 500 wasn't good, and that didn't change much throughout the season at the end of the year either. I think they were a few games over 500 against teams over 500. I think it was like 5 or 6 games. Teams that were under 500, they were about 15 to 20 games over 500. And that was something that was the entire year. And, they got fat off of really bad teams where the Mets could have took advantage of it in September but didn't. Again, that's the Mets' fault. That's nobody else to blame but the Mets. But if you look at the Braves schedule, when they started to get hot, that 2-month span from June 1st until basically the first week in August, look at their schedule. They probably placed about 4 teams that were over 500. A lot of their games were against the Nationals, against the Marlins. Again, September, no excuse for the Mets. They had a similar month with bad teams. It was only their fault. And you give credit to the Braves for beating the bad teams, but it's not like the Braves ran over good teams because they did it. And you know what? That's not, it actually worked out for them at the end because when they needed to beat the Mets, they did. So that's on the Mets, not on the Braves. But it's going to be very interesting to see this year because we play each team in the NL East 6 times less. We're only 13 games against the NL East opponents, and you're going to face more teams around the league, which is a balanced schedule. And now you face all the same teams that everybody else faces in your division. So, yes, you play teams at different times. Like the Mets got a very, very, very early West Coast 10-game trip in April, which is different because always the Mets over the last 4 years had their big West Coast trip, the 10-game, 11-game West Coast trip in or around the month of June. Getting that out of the way early in April could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. It depends on how we play. We got Oakland. I think we played the Padres. And I think we play LA or San Francisco, excuse me. So it's not going to be an easy West Coast trip. West Coast trip, even if it's bad teams, the West Coast trips takes a lot out of you. The Mets have a very short 6-game homestand. For the first 3 weeks of the season, we're on the road a lot. We start off with the first 7 games on the road, Miami and Milwaukee, and then we come for a home opener. And right after the home opener, which is 6 games, we go right back on the road, 10-game West Coast trip against Oakland, San Diego, and San Francisco. And then we come back home, and that's where we face the Braves. So a lot of the games in April are on the road, which could be a bad thing, could be a good thing, because you get more home games, later in the year. And that could help, that could hurt, who knows? Baseball is a fickle sport. It really, I don't know if home field advantage is a huge thing anymore like it used to be, especially with the extra inning rules and just in general now, baseball just seems like, the Mets had a really good home record last year. And, a couple of years ago, they had a bad home record. So it's just very odd. Red Sox be sneaky good. Well, I hope for your sake it's true because he ain't going to affect the Mets, But the Yankees, since you're talking about the Red Sox, the Yankees are doing what the Wilpon Mets used to do. Oh, we don't have a center fielder. He got hurt. Oh, let's throw a career infielder in IKF in center field because that's a smart idea, right? Like let's get over the hill Josh Donaldson and let him play third base when we got two top prospects that can easily perform better than him in Peraza and Volpe. Listen, it would be a blessing. It would make me feel good at my job with all the damn Yankee fans to tell them and have the Yankees be a non-playoff team because, oh my God, no matter – like the Yankees had the benefit last year of a terrible American League. Again, this year, all the big free agents besides Aaron Judge went to the National League. All the big bats, the majority of the pitchers went to the National League. Not a lot of American League teams got better. So the Yankees had the luxury of still having a very poor American League that they have to deal with. But with the balanced schedule, they might have to face more teams in the National League that might be better than they would facing the Royals again and the Tigers again and more of the Orioles or the more of, bad teams in the divisions, terrible West Coast teams, in the American League. So look, no matter if you're a Mets fan, Philly fan, Brave fan, Dodger fan, Padre fan, whatever fan you are, the National League is not going to be easy. And again, if you really look at it, similar to what you see in last year's playoff bracket in the National League, it's probably going to look very similar this year unless there's a surprise team. I don't think the Brewers are going to be as good. I think the Cardinals easily win the NL Central. Right? I think the Mets, Braves, and Phillies all going to make the playoffs, depending on it's going to be wildcard teams of division, obviously yet to be seen. And in the West, in the NL, it's only the Dodgers and the Padres, right? The Rockies are garbage. The Diamondbacks are garbage. So you don't have to worry about those teams. So it seems like those 6 teams are going to be in the playoffs. So it's just a matter of, seeding with that said. So, hey, what are you going to do? All right, let's see what else we got here. Paul, listen, if Peterson is an all-star, that only benefits the Mets. I mean, at that point, put Quintana in the bullpen. There's nothing you can do. You're not going to take Peterson out of the bullpen, who's extremely good, and an all-star, and just not do that. Like, you can't do that. And, we'll see. I mean, that is a big what if. But if Peterson is an all-star and pitching well and Quintana comes back, throw him in the bullpen. What are you going to do? Because you don't want to mess up Peterson's rhythm. And then, who knows if Quintana is going to be as sharp. We don't know that. So I don't think that's fair for Peterson but we'll see if that happens. Yeah, Eva, I know. We lost to I know. I was there for every one of those freaking games. Again, you know what? Look, nobody's not blaming the Mets for the lack of responsibility in the month of September. Winning 1 or 2 more games in any of those series in the month of September gets us the division. I mean, you can look back to a game in April that the Mets should have won. It's unfortunate that we only look at September, but we look at September because of the fact that September was supposed to be the easiest month. In July, we were looking at the month of September. Oh, look at all the bad teams the Mets face. And I think even the Mets players kind of looked at it that way. I think that was honestly true. When they got up for the big games until the Brave series. But I also think that was having a bad September kind of got them going into the Brave series, not feeling great about themselves, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it seemed, right? Give credit to the Braves because they came to play and the Mets didn't. But you can look at every month and pick out games where the Mets were like, wow, we should have won that game. We should have won this game. But you could say that for the Braves and the Phillies as well. Yeah, David Samuel, I know. I know. It's unfortunate, Jose. It's unfortunate, but you know what? The good news is, I mean, technically he's not healthy, but at least we know it wasn't the C word with that lesion on his rib. And you know, he'd be elected to have the surgery, which is his choice. And he's going to be out for 3 months. Who knows how long that might be? Maybe longer. Who knows? But health is always more important than the game on the field, right? Especially if it's life threatening. Yeah, Alan, I can care less about the. Who said that? Who said about the All Star game? I don't care about the All Star game. The National League can lose every single All Star game from here until the end of the world. As long as my team can win a World Series, I can care less. Because if you look at the last couple of years, it's been National League teams winning the World Series, right? So, Explosive, what's up? Explosive. We didn't get swept by the A's in September. We took 3 out of 4. Remember, we took the first 3 games, and DeGrom. I'm sorry, we took 3 out of 4. DeGrom got shelled in that one game that we lost in Oakland. Well, Tilly, you know, you sound like, you know, again, at least you got the World Championships to put on your shoulders. You sound like Met fans at this point. You know, everybody knows that you're not going to be good, but there's always hope when there's spring training, when everybody starts 0-0, that what if that team comes off to a good start and puts some pressure on the good teams in that division, everything could change, right? Yeah, it is The Exorcist. Sorry, guys. So don't worry, guys. I am still working on the lighting a little bit. I know it's a little. I look like I got a great tan, but I do believe that the picture is extremely clear now, which I'm excited about. I'm happy. If you guys can tell me on your end if the clarity of the video is great, if that's true, I'm very excited about that. The lighting I got to do because it's on a weird angle, so I'm just trying to get the lighting correct and to see if that works out. At some point, I will get it correct and make sure that it works out perfectly with that. All right, so let's see. All right, so I wanted to talk about. I put that on the thumbnail about Brandon Nimmo and what he talked about. That he'd rather win a World Series than a World Baseball Classic trophy, and we all know that I'm not the biggest Nimmo fan, but I appreciate what Nimmo said, and I agree with him. The WBC is an exhibition. I think most players, if it was at a certain different time of the year, maybe in the winter, and they would play, more guys would play for their country. It's not like Nimmo doesn't like his country. It's just the fact that he talked about it. He did not want to play because he wanted to put his focus on the Mets, and I appreciate the hell out of that. Time will tell if that's going to keep Nimmo healthy. We don't know, right? Nimmo hasn't played yet in spring. His first start is going to be on Sunday, a little less than 2 weeks until opening day, because he talked about during a lockout that they started up a little later in spring, and that helped him stay healthy. He might believe that. I don't believe that. But we'll see if he stays healthy this year and plays 150-plus games, or at least 140-plus games, because he stayed out of spring and started a little later in spring. Listen, he knows his body. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. If it does, that'll be great because, let's be honest, we do need Nimmo in this lineup for at least 140 games, or the Mets are going to be in trouble. The same reason where we can't afford to lose Marte, and why Marte is taking it slow after all the surgeries he has during the offseason. Well, I like Nimmo. I think a lot of people think I can't stand Nimmo. I like Nimmo, but we're putting Nimmo on a different level that he does not belong. And that's something like getting his average up a little bit more, I think will make him an even extremely better offensive player. That's something that I want to see because he'll have his moments where he'll, like last year, I think he hit 260 something. Maybe he hit 270 in my opinion. But if he can get it over the 270 mark and did what he did last year, again, I'm not expecting a lot of RBIs as a leadoff man. I don't expect that. He's not a home run guy, so I don't expect that. He's a guy who gets on base, productive outs, long at bats. That's what Nimmo is. But for a guy who an overall player is a good player, he got paid as a really good to almost great player. And I don't think he's there yet. Yeah, again, can he improve? Yes. But the only way he can improve, listen, if he don't, he even talked about stolen bases. Listen, guys, Nimmo needs to steal bases. He's one of the better base runners in baseball. When he's on the base pad, he can go first to home with the best of them with his speed. He's just not good stealing bases. With the new rules, there should be no reason why Nimmo is not stealing bases. He talked about stealing bases, how it makes him worried that he's going to get injured. And, if that's the case, no player should steal a base because there's always a risk of getting an injury. But going first to home can also pull a hamstring. I don't get it. But if I can see now, I wish Nimmo would steal bases. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Time will tell, right? Maybe we'll see that on Sunday, not right away, but when he starts getting going in spring training, if he's going to steal some bases. Hopefully he does that, or at least take a little bit of a bigger lead because it tempts the pitcher to throw over. And with the new rule, maybe they'll give him the opportunity to steal some bases. But I want to see his average get up a little bit as well. As good as he is with working the pitch count and working pitches and having long at-bats and getting on base, as a great base runner that he is, if he can just give me 10 stolen bases, close to 15, that would be absolutely. This would help the team so much. And why I believe that Marte should be the leadoff guy because of that. But listen, I want to give Nimmo the benefit of the doubt. You guys might believe that he's a better defensive player than he actually is. But listen, give me 140 plus games, and I'll keep my mouth shut about Brandon Nimmo. Because a guy who got that type of contract got a contract for one solid season. Because every other year he's been hurt. And he has not proven he can stay healthy except for last year, which is a contract year for him. And that is something that I always talk about. We talked about that with Judge. We made fun of Judge that his contract year, he played the most game in his career, and it was a contract year. The same thing goes with Brandon Nimmo. You can't laugh at Judge and not question the Nimmo factor as well. So give me 140 plus games, and I'll keep my mouth shut about Nimmo because he is a good player. But he's got to stay on the field, or it's pointless to talk about anything that he does well if you don't have 140 plus games under your belt. He has 140 plus games once in his career, and this is 7 of his career. Let's stay healthy. And if this is the way he figured out to stay healthy throughout the season is to play less spring training games, so be it. I questioned it. And me and Ken even thought about maybe he was a little bit injured, maybe there was something wrong, or maybe he just thinks that, hey, during the lockout, I played less games in spring training and it helped me last year. Who knows? I don't think they necessarily know either, and I don't think Nimmo necessarily knows. But if it does help him, then you know what? Don't play nobody for half the spring training games and play him March 17th or something like that. So we'll see. Again, I think Nimmo is still a question mark considering the fact that he needs to play 140 games. And if he does that, we should be fine with him. Now, when it comes to everybody else, we got to keep Marte healthy. We saw what happened when Marte wasn't in the lineup. The Mets looked like a totally different offense, a full run-less type of offense. That is one thing. The next thing, Ken Lindor and Pete Alonso have close or similar seasons that they had last year in 2022. Ken Lindor hit 25 home runs again. Maybe, maybe not. If Lindor hits between 20 and 25 home runs, I'll be okay. Can I expect another 100 RBI season? That'd be nice. Give me 90 RBIs. I do expect Pete Alonso to have 40 home runs and over 100 RBIs. He needs to do that, and I think the Mets should be fine. Vogelback, we only had him for a half year. He hit, 6 home runs with the Mets? He hits another 12, 13 home runs added to that. That's 18, 19 home runs. That is at least 13 home runs more the Mets did not have in that lineup last year. Catcher, Navarez, not a big average guy, but I think you're going to see a little bit more power from that spot than we got last year from McCann and Nimmo. I think in total we had 4 home runs or maybe 5 home runs from the catcher spot. I expect at least 10 to 12 home runs combined from the catcher position with Nito and Navarez. Quintana, 12, 13 home runs, something around that. Escobar, I do expect him. He hit 20 home runs last year and he had a bad year. Can he hit 25 home runs? The Mets, I think, were expecting that, considering the fact that they signed him to have protection behind Pete Alonso. With that said, guys, tomorrow, live stream during the Mets game, Mets spring training game. I don't know who's pitching tomorrow. Let me check that before I call it a night. Let's see. They are playing Washington. Oh, they're not on TV tomorrow. That sucks. Well, I'll do a Mets Talk Live tomorrow. The hell with that. They play at 6:05. I'll do a pregame at 5 o'clock. How about that? So Friday, I will do a live stream for the Mets game at 6:10 against the Marlins. It is a split squad, and it might not be on SNY either. What are they doing today? Hold on, guys. I gotta check the schedule here. This is annoying. Let's see. They should be on SNY. Yes, they're on SNY on Friday. Perfect. So they're on SNY Friday. I don't think they're on SNY tomorrow. Let me just double check one more time. They are not on All right, they're not on SNY tomorrow. So tomorrow, let's see who's pitching. Sorry, I was checking out. So tomorrow it's to be determined. They don't know yet. And on Friday, what the hell am I? Friday. Here we go. It looks like it's to be determined. So the Mets rotation is not out yet. The pitcher's not set up. So tomorrow, Mets Talk Live, 5 o'clock tomorrow, prior to the Mets game at 6 o'clock. That is not on TV. So maybe I'll throw it on the radio and we'll talk about it for a couple of minutes. But Friday, I'll do a live stream for the Mets game on Friday at 6 o'clock. So there we are with that. And with that said, guys, 7 o'clock, time to call it quits. I will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. for Mets Talk Live. Everybody, have a great night. Thank you for hanging in there with me over the last couple of weeks. I'm back with the new setup. Everybody, keep on coming back for more. We are 15 days away from opening day in Miami. With that said, guys, everybody, have a great night. As always, Met fans, let's go Mets. Don't forget to please hit on that like button. And if you're a new subscriber of the channel, keep on coming back for more. Everybody, have a great night. Let's go Mets. See you tomorrow, 5 p.m., guys, for Mets Talk Live prior to the Mets game at 6 p.m. Have a good night, guys.